Welcome to the WDW News Today podcast. I'm Tom Crows. With me again this week, Nicholas Cicero.
Howdy. It's great to be here.
Eric's gone. Not permanently. Just
no.
He's finally, I think, traveling the world.
It's about time.
Yeah.
He's got to get out and see things.
He needed to get out of this building.
Stretch his legs, breathe some fresh air.
Yeah.
It's great.
He's only left this building to go to Jock Lindsay's. That's the only place he's been in 5 months.
That's not bad.
No, but that's the only place he's allowed to go. So now we let him loose. We took the ankle bracelet off.
Yeah.
And now he's free to go wherever he likes. Anyway, so Nick and I went to Horror Nights the other night.
Yeah.
And the topic of Animal Crossing came up.
Yes,
because I think Animal Crossing came up, and I said there is no one on this earth who is a bigger fan of Animal Crossing than Nick, because Nick would play the game for years and years after release.
Daily, yeah. Pretty much daily. I think I logged somewhere around 1,500 hours in the Switch version, which came out in 2020. I think my last day of regularly playing it was like New Year's Day of this year. So I played, I wouldn't say I made it every single day, but
almost every
over
day
300 days a year for sure.
For 4 years.
Yeah.
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 Well, 3 years. When it came out in 20, right?
2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
at least 2.5 years.
Yeah. Sometimes I'd put 15, 20 minutes into it, but sometimes I'd sink more because I was building out big. You know, the big thing about this last Animal Crossing was you could build out big towns. Like you could build out, you could actually landscape the land.
That wasn't a thing in the other one?
No. So you could build mountains, you could build water. You couldn't do that before. So that was huge. So the first thing I ever did with that one was I tried building an Epcot. I kind of abandoned that because there wasn't a lot of things to use at the time. I tried to do that too early.
Yeah.
And I never went.
Because they keep releasing more and more items.
They keep releasing more items. You don't have a lot at the beginning. But after a couple of years, I had a lot. But I never went back to that idea. But I was building out a lagoon and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
But so we're talking about Animal Crossing. In the process of that, I thought, for the podcast this week, maybe video games would be a fun topic. And we're not going to talk a lot about non-Disney video games. The topic is Disney video games, and we'll focus a bit on those that have connected to the theme parks. But I figured if Nick and I are left alone without the adults, then this is a good time. Not that Eric doesn't play video games. Eric still plays Diablo like every day. That's Eric's thing.
Diablo, he plays college football, the game. Yeah.
You've had this conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I didn't know he was a gamer. I really didn't. Yeah. He hides that.
No, you wouldn't think, because he looks like a functional adult. But he's a giant child like the rest of us.
That is true.
It turns out. He just has a cabinet full of bourbon.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's the difference. That's the only
That's
difference.
what makes you an adult. You have a cabinet of bourbon.
Yeah.
I have a cabinet of souvenir cups, but not of bourbon. There's nothing in them. Yeah.
So about I guess it was almost 15 years ago, I think I mentioned this briefly, I guess it was on the last podcast, I think, right? At the very end there, or maybe not. I don't know. I remember talking about it because we were, I was doing a radio segment on Disney, on local radio.
I think it was on the podcast.
We met.
Yeah, I think you brought it up.
And one of the segments that I would do is I would put together like little kind of audio histories on different things. And at the time, Epic Mickey was coming out. And Epic Mickey was a big deal at the time because it was kind of a rebirth of Disney gaming to a degree. It was the first time Mickey would be starring in a game in a long time. And so I decided to put together like an audio history of Disney in video games and kind of how that evolved. So that was actually a few years before Disney Infinity, when my personal favorite Disney video game.
Oh, don't worry, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that for sure. But then, it really got me thinking about like the kind of history of Disney in video games. So, we don't have to, I just want to touch on some highlights, but if we could go back to the beginning, we'll
go to the beginning and we'll stop where where we want to stop,
Yeah.
or we are on live.
Yeah.
We record these live with the WIGS members watching. WIGS is our Patreon program, which helps to support all of our programming, our office, our employees, staff, things of that sort. You can join at patreon.com/WDWNT. You get discounts on event tickets. You get discounts on Gertie's, which I'll plug Gertie later. I won't do that at the top of the show. All sorts of discounts. You get access to our Discord community, which is where people are going to be chatting with us during the show in that WIGS live show channel. Are they called channels in Discord? Is that what they're called? They are. Okay. Channels. We have a WIGS live show channel in Discord where people are chatting along with us while they watch this live. So if you want to watch these live or just get early access, again, patreon.com/WDWNT. So if the WIGS want to stop on a particular game, we can do that also. But if you want to start us down this road?
Yeah. So do you know what Disney character's first appearance in a video game was?
Was it a Disney video game, or did they just appear in it?
So the very first one, to be fair, was a video game that could have starred anybody, and they just licensed the Disney characters into it.
The Castle of Illusion wasn't the first.
No, we're talking 1981. So it was a Game & Watch game.
Oh, okay.
And it was Mickey Mouse, and he was running back and forth catching eggs. He was a farmer.
Okay.
And he was just running back and forth catching eggs, and you had to catch the eggs before they hit the ground. And that was basically it.
Yeah.
So like it could have been themed to anything. Then in 1982, there was another Game & Watch game. That one had Mickey, Donald, and Goofy. And that one was really more about them, and you controlled the characters. It was actually the first time they utilized the multi-screen on the Game & Watch, which was interesting too. So you actually controlled the characters on both screens, the top and the bottom. And so they were firefighters. It was themed after Mickey's Fire Brigade short. Okay. And so they were firefighters putting out the fire. So that was the second video game.
For those that don't know what a Game & Watch is.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So that
Billy could put up an image of a Game & Watch in post.
So I mean that was before the Nintendo console. That was basically a handheld Nintendo video game system. I mean it was early, it was clunky. It was if you remember those, like, people in the audience of a certain age probably had those handheld Tiger Electronic games. It was very much like that.
Black, the what's the way to phrase it? The silhouettes of the items are there. They light up.
Yeah.
When you
So the the background was pretty much static.
Yeah.
And it was basically just these pixels that moved across the front of the screen, and that was it. Well, then in 82, also big development because a movie came out that was very video game centric, Tron.
Yes.
So that obviously turned into a lot. That was obviously about an arcade and video games, and that really obviously spawned its own franchise of video games throughout history.
Which are probably more popular than the movie was.
Probably so.
That original arcade cabinet, I believe, outlived any presence the film had.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Do you remember, like, do you care about Tron as a video game series? Were there any memorable Tron video games for you? Because other than the cabinet.
I know the story, but, like, no, I was not like a Tron
kind of the same thing.
Game. I love the aesthetic of Tron. When I was growing up with Disney, they like it already, like, they buried Tron at that point. Like, it was not coming back. And then there were, I think once I got in my teenage years, there were like attempts to bring it back in video game form, right? Like,
they keep trying,
yeah.
Right?
They're like, well, this doesn't really work as a movie franchise, but people know the name, and it might make a good, because the light cycle thing looked cool, and people were like, I want to play that.
Right.
People were like, I'd play that.
Yeah. I don't know if they ever did it super well, though. That's the problem. 83, the first console video game on the Atari was Sorcerer's Apprentice video game. Obviously, Mickey from Fantasia tasked him with keeping a tower from flooding while clad in a signature, robe from the film. So it was a pretty simple game.
You say obviously Mickey, but did you know that was not the original choice for the character in Fantasia?
Oh, in the movie?
Yeah. Did you
no,
know that?
No, I didn't.
Dopey.
Dopey?
He was supposed to be Dopey.
Really?
So if you ever wonder why, like,
No.
Mickey's got this big oversized robe and the hat keeps falling, and it's because it's supposed to. It was originally thought to be Dopey,
That
and
would've
I
changed a
believe.
lot.
Don't quote me on this part. I believe it was a marketing decision where someone said this would do a lot better if Mickey was the character.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that changes a lot, like throughout history.
It changes the entire. I think it changes a lot of the trajectory of the company, probably. Because you imagine the company without Sorcerer and Mickey, that'd be like not having Zippity Doodah. Probably. I think it would be worse. No, all joking aside, I think that would be even a step beyond erasing Zippity Doodah. Like not having Mickey as a sorcerer. Man, I mean, changes a lot.
I know.
Yeah.
That is so iconic. That's a huge change. I never knew that.
A good decision was made.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that Dopey would have been bad. It just wouldn't have been as iconic, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. 87, first Nintendo game, Mickey Mousecapade. That was a Capcom game. Now, do you know about the hidden Mickey with the cartridge for Mickey Mousecapade? Not many people do because obviously no one's opening up their cartridges, but on the circuit board of the cartridge, inside the cartridge, there's a hidden Mickey.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
Pretty cool. So,
And that's way before hidden Mickeys were really a thing.
yeah.
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 Like Imagineers were already putting them in, but it wasn't a well-known thing.
For some reason, they decided to build that in. That was a big deal because that started the whole deal with Capcom.
Yeah.
So now you have a slew of games that people really start to recognize, all the Disney Afternoon type games that were from Capcom.
I think we lose sight. I think obviously Eisner and Wells coming in changes the trajectory of the company.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other things that happen, right? The Disney Channel. I think the Capcom thing goes a long way to make what was considered a stale company for children cooler, right? I think there was a generation of kids maybe at that point that are like, I just want to play with Star Wars. But suddenly Capcom comes in and they make these really good games.
They were great, too.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Rescue Rangers, obviously. DuckTales, Tailspin, all that
DuckTales
stuff.
legendary.
DuckTales
the music. Oh
is
my
the
God.
game, right? Is that has to be the best, like, from that era.
Even if just the music, but the game is
The
great.
game was great.
Yeah.
It played so well. Like I love those platformer games. Those were my thing. You know, I was a big, obviously Mario and things like that. But at that time, I mean, that game just played so much differently than other games. It was done extremely well.
Yeah.
Very precise platforming with that one. Fun mechanics with the pogo stick, cane, and then the different paths that you could take, hidden things to find, different endings, right? So like that game really introduced a lot of things into gaming at the time. Yeah. And so, I mean, that was huge because you're right. That got, kids of a certain age playing with the properties over and over again, instead of just necessarily watching them or seeing them at the parks or in the theaters. Now you're actually like bringing things off your television screen right into your home, and it was great.
It's a perfect storm, right? Disney Channel, Disney Afternoon, these video games, the renaissance in animation, some of the live action stuff, Roger Rabbit, and some of the other stuff that they make the next couple of years. It's a perfect storm that makes Disney culturally relevant again at that point.
Yeah. I remember keeping a log. I have it somewhere. There was like a little... I got it from like Nintendo Power magazine, and it was like a gaming log, and I would just fill it up with all my best scores from DuckTales, like the best times in finishing the game, best scores, and I was always trying to beat my score.
Nintendo Power was a magazine.
Yeah.
A magazine was a thing that was mailed on a regular basis to your home.
Oh, stop.
For you to read. And before the internet, it's the only way we knew about things happening.
Sure.
It was how... Yeah, like especially in fandoms, like nerdy things, the only way you knew anything was magazines.
Well, it was also the only way you knew like cheats and games and things like that.
Yeah, if you got stuck in a game, newsflash, there was no one to help you. You just stopped playing the game. You're like, well, I guess that's it. No one can help me. Just put it away.
Bart vs. the World. Simpsons Bart vs. the World comes to mind. That game was brutal, and I was so excited to play it as a big Simpsons fan. I remember like getting to a certain point, and I like could not figure it out and couldn't get past it, and that game just collected dust. But yeah, today I could hop online and how do you get around this? How do you beat this guy?
My father got stuck at the beginning of Echo the Dolphin forever.
Echo the Dolphin.
Where do you go? Is there a hole somewhere in the ground? Do you jump over this mountain? We couldn't figure out how to start the game. You start in like the water, and I think I don't remember this very well. I think they kidnap his dolphin friends, and then like you have to look for this. I think years later I played. I was like, oh, this is much easier than I remember. But I remember us swimming around that first screen for hours. Like, how do you get out of here? And we're trying to like build up enough speed to jump over the wall.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I remember the game vaguely, but I couldn't tell you about that first scene. Like,
it's on the Sega Genesis. Someone just posted a GIF of Echo the Dolphin.
I'm sure it wasn't that mind-bending on how to get out of
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
But I was a child, and my father was my father. So
yeah. Enough said.
What's he doing? What's he? I'll leave out the curse words that were uttered in that game.
So at that time, same in 1990, Castle of Illusion on Sega. So that's a big one too.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people's favorite.
Probably my first one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you have, is that one of your favorites out of that era?
I would say. I think we played that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one was really good. And they did, again, it was like, it wasn't just putting the IP in the game. It was actually like thinking about how to really make a quality game, because like the platforming was tight, like the story was tight, the music was great, the graphics were good.
Was very good.
Animation
like the characters looked right. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, someone. There are a number of questions being asked. People know too much about me apparently. Number one, Retro Red asked, "Was Tom a Sega kid?" No. We had all of them. My father collects everything and decided at some point in his life to collect video game consoles. So I think we had Neo Geo, which I don't even know how many games existed for that stupid thing.
I rented Neo Geo at the video store multiple times.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you could rent home consoles at the video store. I had rented the Sega a few times, and then my dad was like, we might as well just buy it. Like, yeah.
The Jaguar. We had a Jaguar.
I don't remember that
Atari
one.
Jaguar, yeah.
Okay. Atari Jaguar. Yeah.
That was like their last attempt to be relevant. Yeah. And then for Sega, we had the Genesis, and then we had the Sega CD, and then there was the 32X that attached to that thing.
Right.
But by the time you were done, it looked like a transformer.
Then what was next? The Saturn, right?
Saturn was next.
Sega
a lot of people did not have that. We had Sega Saturn.
I had the Saturn. I didn't have the CD. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Saturn had some fun stuff. Was that, what was the shooter game? Was it Virtua Cop?
I don't know.
I don't know. I just remember that was the most fun thing on there. The sports games were good.
Yeah.
But I remember having the like light gun and playing Virtua Cop was kind of cool.
It was just it was fun to have.
But someone also brought up the CDI.
Oh yeah.
Did you have
I
one?
did not have it.
Oh.
No. Did you have that?
We had a Philips CDI.
Oh wow.
Which people would come over from school and be like, "What is that thing?" I'd be like, "Oh, that's the Philips machine." What Philips machine? It's like it has games. What do you mean it has games? Oh, there's Zelda. Can we play Zelda? And, no, you don't want to. Please do not play. You've seen that footage, right?
Zelda on that one, right?
They were all bad.
Okay.
All the Zeldas on that were bad.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was aimed at younger kids. And the reason my parents bought it for me was there were a lot of learning games. So I remember particular there was the World of Richard Scarry.
That sounds familiar.
The worm in the apple car.
Okay.
You know, and there's a little town with all the animal people.
Yeah.
There was a game, I'd spent hours playing that. I remember there was a Sesame Street there was a lot of point and click educational stuff.
Okay.
And then in the midst of that, there was like Zelda and Super Mario. And we didn't buy those initially. They bought the educational stuff first. And then as the thing tanked and we went to the store, they were discounted for like a few dollars each, and then the other games were purchased. So I probably I think we have the whole catalog. There wasn't a lot.
Right.
But there's a whole long story. The CDI is actually a really important part of history because without the Philips CDI, the Sony PlayStation doesn't happen. Because Nintendo originally was going to work with Sony on a disc-based system and then screwed Sony over and worked with Philips. And Sony was like, why don't we just do it ourselves? And made the Sony PlayStation.
Interesting.
So the CDI, kind of an important moment despite being one of the dumbest things. But in some cases, way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
I think it was like computer gaming, you know, for maybe for dummies kind of, because I think it was still kind of hard at that time to run computer programs. You had floppy disks and all that still. And so the Philips CDI came around. I think it was more accessible for people was the idea. But then I think very quickly, by the time the CDI was out, it was like, oh, you just put a CD in the computer now and the game boots up. And it's pretty simple for a kid to do. And that's, you know, you have all that educational software at that point.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, Ziggy said the CDI was basically a CD-ROM computer turned into a console. Yeah.
So yeah, there were. I mean, then there was a whole slew of those Illusion games, right? On the Sega. I don't think anyone was as good as the first one. I don't know if you remember any of the World of Illusion and different things like that. And I never found those to be as good as the original.
I remember those. I just remember Castle of Illusion.
So the next one that's kind of important just for a milestone is in 93, Mickey's Safari in Letterland and Mickey's Adventure in Numberland. The reason those are significant, actually, is because that was the first time they used digital voice clips of the character actors in the games. So you actually had Mickey talking in that one.
What were those on?
I believe those were last releases of the NES. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was even before the Super Nintendo, 93 and 94. So right before the Super Nintendo, they were actually able to start adding those voice clips in.
Wow.
Which is pretty incredible for the time. Next big one, 94, Aladdin. So that's
this is the start of those movie tie-in games, infamous movie tie-in games.
Yes. Because for the next, 15 years, easy, like just every... They went back in the catalog, and then every movie that came out had a video game. Yeah. It just started that whole trend. But do you know what was very significant about this one? They actually used real cartoon artists to draw the animation. So that was huge, and that's why those games look so good.
Yeah. They were also insanely difficult.
The worst.
Yeah. And they're made for kids.
Oh, yeah.
And kids can't get past a level or two.
No. Those were insanely hard.
I remember throwing the controller at the wall in Lion King.
Oh, I'm sure. Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, they all had those games at that time. They were beautiful games. And I think they're still... They're fondly regarded, right? Because
everyone remembers having them and playing them,
right? Because everybody got them, right?
But then I think people bought those remakes and were like, "I remember this now. I didn't like this at all."
No, even as an adult, they're really, really hard. And so,
which was on purpose, I believe. I remember hearing someone say that was on purpose, so the game felt longer. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe I don't know, but yeah, I fell into that trap too. I bought the remake based on nostalgia, and I was like, ugh.
This is where we add the disclaimer that, like, you know, we know everything about Disney theme parks. In the case of these video game things, we may not know everything verbatim. So if you want more information on some of these things, there are probably good sources out there. Essentially, the WDWNTs of video games.
Oh, yeah.
The other channels you could watch for more info on these things.
Yeah. But I had a blast playing those. But that was the era where, I didn't need to, finish the games to have fun with them necessarily. Yeah. Like, they were just fun games to pick up and play all the time.
Yeah.
Let's see, what is next? The next thing I have on here. So, right about this time, this is when we can start integrating with the parks, because we're going into the late 90s now, and there was kind of you're
missing a game.
Oh, wasn't
there a Magic Kingdom game on the NES?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my God, that was so bad.
Yeah. But it's the whole, like, you walk
You're
around the
right.
park, like the actual park, it's Main Street and
You're right.
Tomorrowland with Space Mountain. The Haunted Mansion thing
Haunted
is,
Mansion
they're
was
all
on
really
there.
hard, but like Haunted Mansion where the bats come at you.
That is what, Magic Kingdom Adventures or something like
I
that?
think that's the name, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was going to
You're
say,
right.
that's the first park game.
You're
That's
right.
got to be 80, maybe early 90s, but maybe
That
80s.
would be, it's right here. Adventures in the Magic Kingdom. That was 1990.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That one was so, like, because if I remember correctly, like a lot of the games, the mini games didn't even have anything really to do with
No,
the park
very
sometimes.
vaguely, yeah.
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 But yeah, that one had a Space Mountain game. You're right. A side-scrolling Haunted Mansion game.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like Ghosts and Goblins.
What's
a little
crazy is this sort of spawns a genre of theme park video games, which I know we're going to talk about
bit. Yeah.
Connect later, and there's some similarities. There's also similarities to that Universal game on the GameCube. Did you ever have that?
No.
There is a Universal theme park game. Came out very early on the GameCube. And I recommend getting it just because it's a nostalgia trip. Also, what I've really liked about it, what was funny was as a kid, I remember getting it and we played it. And I remember running around the park and I'm like, what's this weird version of Universal they've built? This isn't anything like the real one. And everything's in the wrong place. I'm annoyed about it.
Okay.
But like the mini games, again, not good. But
Yeah.
if you love the parks, it was neat to have a game based on the park. And also, like, my favorite movies are Back to the Future and Jaws and Jurassic Park. And so it was cool that was all in a game, even though the game was bad. But what was cool was you got to explore the park and run around. You picked up garbage and you earned specialty
Wait,
clothing.
seriously?
And
You were a janitor?
no, you're a kid, but they like reward you for picking up the garbage in the park. Then later, so we go, when my first time going to Universal Studios Japan, we walk in and we turn a corner and I have this moment where I go, oh no, this is the park.
No way.
This is because the game came out right when
Yeah.
that park opened. And so I turned that first corner on that first street with the awning over Hollywood and I go, this is the game. It was based on this park.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I thought, oh, that's amazing. And then walking around, I was like, I kind of know my way around
That's great. how that
because of the
triggered that
game
memory.
a little bit. Yeah. It was pretty funny. But also similar thing where you run around a park and there are mini games you can enter at attractions.
Yeah,
so
you
there's
can
a
meet
whole
costume characters for points.
Yeah, they give you a hug. They give you a weird, creepy hug. If you haven't, the Angry Video Game Nerd did an episode, a Christmas episode where he plays this.
Yeah.
Please go watch it. It is spectacular. It's a great summary of the game if you don't want to hunt it down, and you'll see enough of it to be happy. Yeah, but it's a nostalgia trip, but also a piece of garbage.
How is the Back to the Future, the ride game?
It's fun because you had to bump Biff. It was really hard and terrible.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was cool because it's like, oh, it's the actual story from the ride. We have to bump Biff at 88 miles an hour. So that part was cool, but
That's funny.
Yeah.
I never knew about that
yeah.
one. As far as Disney games go, though, the late 90s kind of had a lull. Like, there wasn't a lot. There were some movie tie-ins, things like that.
Yeah, there were a lot more of those, like Lion King. Then they did the old ones. Like you said, there was Pinocchio. I remember Pinocchio.
Yeah,
vividly.
that was one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you, did you care about any of those? Like,
I think I played them for a level or
I
two
don't
and got
remember
stuck and shut
Pinocchio.
it off. I think
Yeah,
that's-
yeah.
I remember Toy Story.
Toy Story had one, yeah.
Yeah, and what was crazy about Toy Story is it was the first thing I played on the Sega Nomad.
I don't ever remember that one. Wait, where did that fit into the timeline?
The Sega Nomad, someone decided, hey, I figured out how you could take Genesis games on the go. It was a mobile system that you put the Genesis cartridges into. I remember vividly the first one I put in was Toy Story, even though it was very difficult and I hated it.
So you used the actual cartridges. There weren't different cartridges.
No, they weren't different. You put them in. It failed horribly. I don't know why people... It seemed so far ahead of its time with the Switch now, but Yeah, it was a way to take those games on the go. We also had, my father infamously had the Game Gear,
Yeah, that I had.
which had a television thing with the antenna. So you plugged it in the
was so
top
bad.
and you tuned to a channel, and the antenna went like 15 feet. Probably
Yeah,
not that high,
it did
but as a
go
kid,
high.
it felt like
No,
15 feet in the
yeah.
air. I remember being out watching a Dolphins game on this thing, and the antenna's like sticking in the
great.
sky.
It was so bad.
But he also had one of those portable TVs. Do you remember those?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the
we used to take
Sony,
those
the gray, the
camping.
big
Yeah.
gray one that also had the antenna that was
Yep.
kind of crazy. God,
Those are the days.
I'm glad I was born when I was, because I think I got to experience the cusp of the change in technology
Sure.
from like analog to digital, like to live through that transition.
It was cool. Like
Is
it was a good
interesting.
time because you know we're both at an age that we could transition through that pretty well.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're, it was a cool time to be a part of, just to see that transition of how things evolve, and that's kind of the way. You know, when I was looking at the history of these video games, I kind of seeing how that evolved too, and how they started using more in different technology. It's pretty remarkable. The next year I wanted to highlight was actually '98, because that's when we got some. To kind of start mixing it into the theme parks. We had Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin, so introducing kind of gaming in the park where you're kind of going and you're playing it's kind of like a giant video game.
Yeah.
I mean, really. And then Disney Quest at Downtown Disney. So you had all that stuff kind of coming in at that era, and so now you're introducing these like interactive type gaming experiences, and there's going to be a lot of tie-ins starting around that time.
And VR.
And
right?
VR,
People forget there
yeah.
was VR at Disney Quest. You sat on a carpet, and that started at Innoventions, by the way. That was tested at Innoventions in the 90s, which I vividly remember doing it there. And then what's funny is we were going to go to Disney Quest our first trip after it opened. And the lady at the front desk goes, "It's not very good. You don't want to go there." And so we didn't. So I never ended up going to Disney Quest until the Premier Passport was introduced, because I never had the annual pass that included water parks and Disney Quest.
Right.
And so when they mailed us the Premier Passport for the Disneyland Disney World, I was like, oh, I get Disney Quest now. Does anyone want to go? And so a bunch of us went. That was my first time at Disney Quest. So you're talking like 2009, 10? So I didn't see it till then. And then I did the Aladdin. They're like, oh, you guys see the Aladdin thing? And we go sit there. It's like, I've done this. They're like, you said you've never been here.
Oh,
and I thought about it. I went home. And I went home and I'm like, I knew it. And there's like a Jeff Lang video or something of it. And I'm like, I knew I had done this before. I remembered this.
That's funny.
Yeah.
What was your favorite Disney Quest game?
For how dumb it was, Jungle
Cruise?
Just because everyone kept falling off the back of the stupid inflatable thing. And you could never go the way you wanted to go. You'd get to that, the fork would be a mile away, and you're like, we're doing it. And everyone's on one side rolling that stupid oar. They're so like, we're going to make it. And the whole time you're pointing that way, the thing is just drifting the opposite way. And you're like, why? Why? And it just kept drifting that way. Does anyone know? Could you even go the other way? Or was it like a fake... Did they fake us out? And it was like, this will be funny if they can't actually choose which way they're going. The best actual game is Pirates.
Pirates, right?
Yeah, that was a later edition,
that was the most fun
too.
to play.
Yeah.
Like, just pure fun. Yeah, that was the most fun to play. Yeah.
Although I missed out on the thing in the floor. The remote control cars in the floor.
I don't remember ever doing
Treasure
that
of the Incas, Treasure of the Mayans. I forget the name. It caught fire. That's why it closed. One of the remote control cars caught fire and was trapped under the floor. And so they closed it. But it was in that bottom floor. The floor was glass and you could see in, but then there was like a camera on the car. So you could see where you were driving it from the console.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My least favorite had to be the Buzz Lightyear game where you're shooting the balls out.
Oh, no.
Really?
I love that.
Yeah.
At the last year, we kept trying my my goal was to shoot one of the balls up into the second level
Uh-huh.
because I realized by accident once, like the gun tilted back
Yeah.
and I hit the thing and it hit the railing. So like it was caged in downstairs,
Right.
but then it was open air. You could look down into it from the upper floors. And then the second floor had a railing. I hit the railing. So at that point I'm like, could you shoot the ball over into the second floor? Has it ever happened? And so every time we did it, my goal just became, I'm going to shoot the ball up into the second floor. It never made it.
Never made it?
Never again. I think the one I had was like broken. It's not supposed to tilt
Yeah.
up that much. Maybe they were in rough shape towards the end.
Yeah.
But I love
A
the
lot of that place
concept, the idea
was.
of like fire a cannonball out of a bumper car.
Yeah.
And then they spin. I love that. It didn't work.
It didn't work
And the cool
very
thing was at the end there was never a line for it.
Right.
So
That's
I never.
the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
If
didn't
I
work.
waited an hour for that, forget it.
No.
Did you ever wait long
No,
for it? Oh,
no.
okay. I don't know. When was the first time you went to Disney Quest? Like pretty early on, or
Early 2000s. So
Okay.
probably like
It was still
2002-ish.
yeah, it was still alive.
Yeah.
Did the elevator still do it? I think the elevator still did its thing when I went the
Yeah.
first time, and then very shortly after, the magic genie elevator thing went away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a shame. Yeah, but I remember that was definitely working the first handful
Yeah.
of times I went.
cool thing to look for if you go to Hong Kong Disneyland. There was a second Disney Quest.
Chicago.
Chicago,
Yeah.
yeah. So that closed relatively quickly, but Walt Disney Imagineering salvaged a bunch of stuff out of it. So you remember like the landing point at our Disney Quest, there was like that big, I don't even remember what the thing was called, but that big like, there was a device, almost like a laser cannon
thing
it
going
looked
through the
like.
middle of the
Yeah, and there was like a
building?
light up laser cannon
Yeah.
thing. So the one from Chicago, because they were trying to save so much money on Hong Kong Disneyland, the one from Chicago is in the load area as decoration in Space Mountain
Okay.
in Hong Kong. It's a cool, fun thing. I'll send Billy a picture. I have pictures of it.
Yeah.
I think I take a picture of it every time I go in there because it's my favorite weird thing.
Do you have any memorabilia from Disney Quest?
I have one of the balls from Buzz Lightyear.
Okay, I can see
I have a
that.
ball. I have a cast member only sign, and I have the actual stanchion entrance sign to Pirates. So not the sign on the wall, but at the end of the stanchion there was a square little sign with the logo that said entrance. I have that.
I was hoping you'd say one of the Mighty Ducks things.
I wish. I
Yeah.
wish. I don't. I think a lot got destroyed.
Yeah.
I think what I have was probably acquired from people, probably not in the best of ways. I assume either cast members or guests ripped them off the walls.
Yeah.
And then sold them on the secondhand market. So, I mean, I don't know that. Maybe management let them take the cheap little signs. I don't know. The balls were sold. The ball was obtained very officially. Disney sold them at property control. So the stupid black ball was that Disney sold to people. 'Cause
Okay.
they're like, we could sell that.
Yeah.
I think we're like $5. I was like, I want one.
The next one I want to talk about, I don't know how controversial this one is with you. I know like some people love this game.
Oh wait, no, someone brought up something we have to talk
go
about
ahead.
first.
All right.
So what was Jungle Cruise your favorite?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
No. Pirates.
Pirates,
I mean,
okay.
Jungle Cruise
You like
was
Jungle
fun as anyway.
Someone brought up one of the games we probably should talk about. Alien Encounter.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot. There was a spin-off of Alien Encounter at Disney Quest, which I'm sure they regretted because by the time 1998 rolls around, they're deeply regretting building Alien Encounter at Magic Kingdom.
Right.
But now they had the spin-off thing where like Chairman Clench appears again in the pre-show and everything.
Yep.
So that was the coolest thing for me the first time I went to Disney Quest was, oh my God, Alien Encounter's kind of alive.
Right.
So that was cool. It's probably not the worst game, but it was pretty dumb.
It was pretty bad.
It was pretty dumb. Like one team jumps, like you have to make the vehicle travels via jumping.
Yep.
And then everyone else is shooting the aliens. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was not a fun experience. I mean, it's kind of a
Yeah.
forgettable one. Obviously, we both forgot it. Like, it's not one that came to mind.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't want to cut you off, but someone,
No,
one of the
yeah.
WIGs brought up Alien Encounter. Ashley Ashley Storer Smith brought up Alien Encounter, and I wanted to talk about it because I love Alien Encounter. Obviously, if you guys have been to to WWT Celebration in the museum, we have a section for Alien Encounter, and we may or may not be trying to do something else with Alien Encounter. We'll keep you apprised
May or
of.
may not.
We're working on it. No promises, but we're working on it.
2002, Kingdom Hearts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this was another kind of revival for Disney in video games. This was a huge gamble for everybody involved, Square Enix, Disney.
Well, it wasn't, right?
Well, they knew the concept would work. They didn't know how responsive people would be to these these Disney characters in this kind of environment, using in this kind of, really, I mean, it's a long RPG game. And it's different. It's a Japanese RPG game, which is very different than some American RPG games.
Because I was going to say, in Japan, this makes all the sense in the world, right? Like, people of Japan, what do you love? They're like, we love Final Fantasy.
Right.
What else do you love? We like to go to Tokyo Disneyland. Well, we've made a game for you.
There you go.
I think the gamble was America, right? And the other, far as larger markets. I think America, we were like, huh? The American gaming media was like, what? What are you doing? But I think in Japan, I think from the first moment they probably knew they had a hit, at least in their home country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was never a fan of these kind of Japanese RPG games as video games. I never liked the Final Fantasy series.
Same.
I don't like those types of games, but I gave this one a chance when it came out, and I was lost. I've never finished a Kingdom Hearts game. At this point in time, now there's been 1 billion of them, with the timeline going all over the place.
If you include the mobile games,
Yeah, if you include the mobile games, the timeline goes back and forth. Some include Disney characters, some don't actually.
It's the worst story in the history of video games. There's no doubt. It
is so convoluted.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense either, though. I've watched hour-long videos on YouTube of people trying to explain it, and in the middle of it, they're just like, look, this doesn't make sense. I'm going to keep going, but this doesn't work.
So at its core, it is awesome to play these characters and go into all these different lands, beautifully made.
Oh, gorgeous.
Like, to go into whatever, Nightmare Before Christmas, Peter Pan, all these different universes, Toy Story.
Which was such an oddball choice. I was like, oh, this is so cool. I love this.
Yeah.
Tarzan and Alice. Alice. Alice was my favorite. I just thought
Nightmare
that was
Before
so
Christmas.
cool.
They had everything.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I remember getting that and being like, I don't play games like this at all, and I don't know how this is going to go. And I remember slogging through the beginning, and I'm like, when do we get to the Disney? Because I'm not here.
Long.
I'm not here for this.
Yeah.
And then eventually, once you get going and you get on the gummy ship thing, and then finally get somewhere, it's like, oh, this is cool. And so I think we played through, my cousin played a lot of it too. We played up until like towards the end when it stops being Disney.
Yeah.
When you start going places that aren't really Disney, I think we kind of checked out, and that was the end. But we had played all the worlds in the first one. We'd seen them all.
Yeah, I think that's about me too. Like, I try to play so I could see as much of the game as possible. I know I'm not going to finish. Kingdom Hearts 3 still sits there. There's these long intervals. That's one of my problems with this game. There are cutscenes could be like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're like playing the game, and all of a sudden it's like this long cutscene. And like,
do you know why they're so long though?
Why?
Like, part of it's story, but another part of it is Japanese takes so long. Like, to say to say the sentence you just said in Japanese is going to be 1.5 to 2 times longer.
Okay.
And so
when you translate
with Japanese to explain things, it's a beautiful language. Don't get me wrong; it's a lot prettier than English is. But at the same time, I like that English cuts to the point. Japanese is talk, and then you ask someone like, "What did they say?" And they'll tell you in English. It was like one sentence. It's like, they spoke for 3 minutes.
That's
They're like,
funny.
this is what they said. It's like, but you took 30 seconds to tell me what it took them 3 minutes to say.
That explains a lot, though, because one of my problems with those games is the pacing,
Yeah.
and so it feels so off to like have the animation do all these things and only a couple words are said.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense because
Yeah.
in Japan they needed that animation.
Yeah, and I don't
time
think
to
for
say,
the dub they're cutting down the scenes.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
That actually. 'cause
That's my
one of
assumption.
my
I
biggest-
could be wrong, and a lot of it could be story exposition that's just stupid.
No, it
it's
feels
possible, but I'm sure some of it, I would imagine some of it is related to the
No,
difference in
because
language.
I'm always thinking to myself, why are they just standing there and nothing's happening? Like they're
Yeah.
not saying anything. They're moving. They're pausing. There's these long pauses. Now that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And that's one of my biggest frustrations with that game. And I don't even really like the gameplay mechanics, honestly.
No.
I just
no.
want to kind of run around and explore. And
But that's why what I learned was by the time we bought 2, and 2 was the same thing where the slow slog for the beginning. It was even worse that beginning. And I'm like, oh my God. And I don't think we even played through all the planet or
Yeah.
worlds, whatever you want to call them. And then with Kingdom Hearts 3, by the time that came out, I'm like, well, now the cool thing is that the internet, people play video games on the internet.
just watched it.
I don't have to buy this game. I will watch someone I like play this game and save myself the time and money. And that's what I did. And I was like, well, that's great.
I should have done that.
No, there's nothing wrong with
I can
buying
go
it
back
if you feel like
and
you
do
want to
it.
play.
I can go
Yeah.
back and do it.
Yeah.
But I know that's like, I mean, that one's I don't want to say cult classic, but I mean, like, it's just like there's a whole fandom around Kingdom Hearts, obviously.
I don't even think it's cult because
No, I wouldn't say cult.
that
no,
line to
but
meet
it's,
them at Oogie Boogie Bash
yeah.
is nuts. Like, I'm glad I did it the first year when the line, like, no one knew they were coming out. And we managed, I think we waited like 20 minutes, which in hindsight was very, very good. Now it's a fight to get in that line now. That's such a, I mean, those are cool costumes.
But I mean, completely off the top of my head, I don't think there's another Disney video game franchise that has a like its own fandom. This does.
And in Japan, it's still like you see it out when you go out in Tokyo and go look at like those nerdy stores like Robot and stuff like that. You inevitably run into Kingdom Hearts stuff. And I always have to stop myself from buying it because I'm like, man, the stuff is so cool looking, but I really don't like Kingdom Hearts. I remember they sold, at one point in Japan, they sold big replica Keyblades. And I thought it was like, it's Mickey's Keyblade and it has his head on it. And I'm like, that's really cool. But then I like had to stop myself and be like, I'm never going to do anything with this, but I love it. The aesthetic is great. Like not even like the Disney worlds are great, but like I like the Disney characters in that costuming is just fun. They just look good. They look cool in it.
Yeah.
They're cool costumes. Like Mickey's pretty badass.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
Donald and Goofy look great.
Yeah.
I love Chip and Dale's little thing going on. Minnie is the princess. Like they look, the characters that get to dress up for these games are they look good. They look fun. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to 2005 now.
Okay.
Virtual Magic Kingdom.
Oh, VMK.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Memories.
Yeah, I know there is still a passionate fan base out there. And I get it, right? Because the community, I never got to really get into the community part of that.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't on it long enough, but I totally get that people got home from school and logged in every day. And it was like, you know, in between Disney trips, it's exciting. Like it's a little bit of Disney parks at home. The coolest part for me was I loved when we go to the parks and you get the cards and then go home and enter them in.
Yeah.
That was super cool. And I thought I loved how into it Disney was. I liked how they were like, we're going to build like these centers at Disneyland and Disney World, and all the time there'll be different cards you can get.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them you got to do stuff to get the cards. And I always love stuff like that.
That's where I was introduced to it, actually, seeing it in the park like that. So this came at a weird time for me. I like in hindsight, I really, really wish I got into it. Like, and I think a few years later or a few years earlier, I would have. This was like literally right when I was like entering the workforce, doing different things in my life, and video games kind of weren't a priority at that point in my life, and I didn't have enough leisure time to worry about them, and I was worried about other things. So it was just a weird time. But looking back on it, I mean, I played it a bit, but I really wish I got to immerse because I think I
So
would have had a
cool.
blast with
I think
this.
I only was really in it, like they announced it was closing, and that's when I started going every day.
Yeah.
And it was kind of sad because at the end I was like, I missed out on a lot of really cool stuff. I
Yeah.
felt like.
Same
Yeah.
way. But I'm sure there's a lot of memories about that one.
Jordan and WIGS brought up not a big game, but in 2003 there was also Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure.
Definitely not a big game, but
You know what you skipped
Interesting.
over though?
what?
The Disney World racing game.
Okay, Mickey Speedway?
No.
Which one?
The Disney World one, the one with the what was the name? Magical Racing Adventure or something? It was on Dreamcast, so you're past
Okay.
the life of the Dreamcast at this point, are you not?
Let's see. I have a website that separates them by gaming. It's not there.
Walt
Let's
Disney
see.
World Racing. Just search Walt Disney World
Yeah.
Racing. That was hugely disappointing. It was like Mario Kart, but at Disney World,
But is
and it
it
was terrible.
was that the one that was like you could have put any characters in there? The theming of the cars or the tracks weren't really Disney.
They were like one was Big Thunder. One of the tracks was
2000.
Big Thunder Mountain.
Oh no! Okay.
What is it called? Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
Walt Disney World Quest Magical Racing Tour.
I literally just played this about a month ago.
And you don't have it on your list?
Yeah, I forgot about
my
it.
God.
There are some good ones,
There
and
it
there are
is. Someone
some
just put it
awful courses, though.
Yeah.
So this one, because my friends, is this a PlayStation? I think
It was on several systems,
several things.
was it not?
So my friends,
yeah, Dreamcast, Game Boy Color, Windows, PlayStation.
okay, my friends just like are retro gaming with their kids right now, pulling out
Okay.
like systems from 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
They pulled out a PlayStation. We went to a retro video game store. This was there. They picked it up. I literally just played it not too long ago. It's not bad. It's super
Oh, you
dated.
don't think so? Oh, there's a dinosaur. I forgot about that. There's
Yeah.
a dinosaur track.
Well, I mean, look, Mario Kart's its own thing, but you could go back to early Mario Kart games and they're still playable. This was hard to play. It was hard to steer, hard to get around corners.
The
You know,
tracks: Big Thunder, Autumn
Yeah.
Mansion, Jungle Cruise, Pirates, Space Mountain, Splash Mountain. Splash Mountain was this? Never mind. Tomorrowland Speedway, Test Track would have been old Test Track.
Right.
Rock and Roller Coaster, Dinosaur, Blizzard Beach, Typhoon Lagoon, and Disney
Yeah.
Studios.
So there are some ones
Which would have
that
been
are
MGM
more
or Hollywood
themed to
Studios.
what they're supposed to be. than
Yours is
others.
way more fresh in your head, so you tell me.
Some of them are very abstract. Some of them are like just big rooms that you can't go through. You can barely see some of the theming. Some of
Yeah.
them are very dark where you're not really seeing the theming either. But yeah, no, it's pretty decent. The funny thing about this one is there are like these made up characters. Like they're not all Disney characters.
Only Jiminy and Chip and Dale
Yeah.
for racers. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot about that one. So the reason we brought that one up is because there's actually a newer one.
And then Speedway USA was the N64 one.
Yeah, that one. I think that one's the one I was thinking of. That really was
Yeah.
pretty bad. Like
That was terrible.
I think it's just like an overlay.
terrible. Which is weird because it was made by Rare, and Rare are the ones that made Diddy Kong Racing, which is a beloved Nintendo 64
Right.
racing game.
So that's why I think people had high hopes for
It's
that.
very strange.
Disney Speedstrom. So that's the free-to-play racing game that's out now.
Isn't it Speedstorm?
Speedstorm, yeah. Thank you.
Speedstorm.
Have you played that?
Yeah, because it was Rare. Yeah. And Banjo, it did have Banjo Kazooie Katie. That's correct.
Have you played the Disney Speedstorm? Speedstorm? Sorry.
Oh my god.
It's late.
Oh.
It's free to play.
I haven't.
It's
I
cool
didn't even
'cause
know
you
it was
could
free to play.
Customize everything.
I know Figment's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could customize.
I thought it was a console thing. I
stuff.
had no idea.
Well, I mean, I think I'm playing on the PlayStation.
Oh, so
I think
it is a
that's-
console thing, but it's
Yeah.
free to download?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I'm very old.
Or I might be playing that one on the Switch. But it's on all
That's
those.
why I
Yeah.
thought it was like, oh, you got to pay. I'm like, oh, I'm paying.
No, I mean you could pay if you want better cars, different skins,
Okay.
things like that.
Is Figment a
But
pay to add?
you earn coins so you could unlock things. Yeah.
Okay.
So I would say it actually is really good as far as the controls. It is not good as far as Disney themed courses. So it needs more. I haven't played it in like a couple months, but maybe it has.
So someone built a really good racing game and then tried to find a license.
Maybe.
And Disney came in and was like, oh, okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
But if it had better like park themed courses, I think I'd like that a lot more.
Okay. But continue your story.
Oh,
We'll let you know when you miss something.
Well, I'm just saying, yeah, please do. Same year as Virtual Magic Kingdom, Club Penguin came out, so that was big.
Club Penguin. I will never forget at the 20th anniversary of Hollywood Studios, we were doing an event.
Yeah.
And that's when the meet and greet was there.
Yeah.
Where the Toy Story Mania third track is in front of that building now. Not that you can access that anymore, but so back there it was the Blackbeard red penguin guy. What was it?
Oh,
Rockhopper.
She remembers the names.
I don't know, but we all thought it'd be funny
Nice.
if we took a picture with the Club Penguin. So there's a picture somewhere of all of us meeting the Club Penguin characters. So we're like, look at this dumb thing. Let's go take a picture with it. But I know that was a big thing. Billy skipped school for what? To meet Rockhopper like the first day? Wow.
They took him out of school.
You can't repeat this. They might take his diploma away. You can't.
It was third grade. They're not going to take his diploma.
It's celebration. It's serious. They're like someone's watching right now. They're like, I'm gonna go look up Billy Tuzin. We're gonna mark an extra absence.
He had so many. It's fine.
He had so many.
All Disney related.
All Club Penguin
Yeah.
related.
Oh.
Anytime a Club Penguin thing happened at Disney World, he took the day off. I don't know anything about Club Penguin other than those Puffle pins were everywhere because they were heavily discounted and people bought them and traded
Don't
them
be so shocked.
onto lanyards.
We-
And then
It wasn't in our age
we were way out
demographic
of
there.
age
Yeah.
range for Club Penguin. Yeah.
Let's see. I'm going to 2008 now. Toy Story Mania. So
Yeah.
more gaming in the park. The cool thing about that one was you got to bring that game home pretty much right away. There was a Wii game
Yeah.
that came out pretty much at the same time.
Yeah.
And so you got to play it at the park. You got to play it at home. Pretty cool kind of synergy there.
What was really cool, did you have the plug and play one?
The plug and play.
There's a Toy Story Mania plug and play where the
No.
the console looks like the front of the ride vehicle. I mostly bought it because of that. I was like,
No.
oh, let me Google this. Hold on. Let me find this.
Is it its own thing? Or
It's its own standalone thing. You plug it into the TV. It's plug and play.
wow.
Toy
Did
Story
not know about that one.
Mania plug and play. Yeah, here it is. And it came with your own home version of the spring action shooter. But it doesn't have the pull. It doesn't have the pull thing. It's just a button. That is the ADA vehicle does have like the button. Billy will show you this at home. Yeah.
Was that sold at the parks?
And it came with 3D glasses. I don't think it was sold at the park. I don't think I remember seeing it at the park. I remember buying it at Toys R Us.
Yeah. Okay.
I just liked it because it looked like the gun, and they played. It was fine, but I was like, this is not great. But I just thought it was cool because you never really went to your local big box store and found things that looked like something from the park, right? That's not a thing. So the fact that there was a ride that had a toy at the toy store near my home, I was like, I have to own this. Yeah.
So, speaking of 3D, now around the same time, 2009, the first Disney video game that was in 3D also came out that year. Do you know what movie that would have been based on?
2009.
Yes.
What Disney movie was 2009? Bolt was earlier. 09 was Princess and the Frog, but I don't think it was that. Was it a live action movie?
Yes.
Tron?
This was a live action movie. I think
Was Tron 09?
It was definitely computer graphics.
Or was Tron 11? Oh, no, Tron was later.
Let's see.
Tron was 11.
I guess it's it's like, right? I don't remember much about this
Just
movie.
tell me more.
G-Force.
Oh, my God. The
'Cause
gerbils?
That was live action
guinea
with
pigs?
CGI, right?
The guinea pigs.
Guinea pigs.
All I remember about G-Force was it was like the longest running window display at the Fifth Avenue Disney store. And I kept making fun of the fact
Really?
that it was there. It was there for so long. I was like, when are you guys getting the G-Force window out? Like, I don't know.
But yeah, that was the first Disney video game in 3D on a console.
Weird.
Let's see. Then 2010, Epic Mickey. I really enjoyed the first Epic Mickey, but it was very much a letdown. Do you remember seeing the lead up to that, the concept art with the like destroyed park icons?
The concept art was years earlier. I remember
Right.
posting the concept art,
Yeah.
like in the early days of the website.
like
Yeah.
that. It got me so excited, like that you were going to go into like a post-apocalyptic Disney World.
Yeah.
and
Not
never-
even just the animatronics, just that they showed like the world. Like, wasn't there like a broken spaceship Earth?
Yep.
Yeah.
But it never really materialized to that.
No, but we didn't know that so much leading into the game, so there was so much hype.
Yeah.
I actually went to the media event at the Times Square Disney store. Warren Spector was there. I got to meet Warren Spector. I have
Yeah.
a signed copy of the game. They had Steamboat Willie Mickey at the store. I have this Oswald jacket they gave us a size XL that doesn't fit me, but I refuse to sell it because it's really cool.
I bet.
Because you got to remember at that time, there is no Oswald anything yet.
Right.
We still don't have Oswald stuff at that point. And it has Oswald like bursting out the front,
That
and
was
it
a
says
big thing.
Oswald on the back.
Yeah.
I was like, this jacket is really cool. Yeah.
Did you play the game?
Yeah, because they gave it to us.
Okay, so
I hated it.
the platforming was awful. Like
it was terrible.
It was kind of broken.
The
mechanics
camera
wise.
was like
horrible
I
camera.
shut it off very quickly.
horrible. Camera.
I gave up real
You
quick.
couldn't jump on the ledges. Like I wanted you to make these
No.
precise platforming jumps, and you couldn't
And
do it.
You just looking through walls and
Now, visually, I enjoyed the game.
Yeah.
I did really enjoy the game. I liked playing as Mickey. It was fun. The second one, I think, was awful. I think the second one was even worse than the first. I think they didn't
Yeah.
fix any of the problems,
yeah.
and it was a lesser story.
Yeah.
Like, so,
It was a musical.
yeah. The concept was neat. I like the
Yeah.
idea of painting or destroying, but
Yeah.
I don't even think that really played out the way they said it would.
No, they told you there were consequences, and then in the end they're like, "No, there's not. We couldn't
There's
couldn't
not.
get it in."
Yeah.
And then the
Right?
second one, they're like, "Did you do it?" And they're like, "Ah, we couldn't get it
No,
in."
they could
It's like,
no.
So what are you doing?
So I mean, the other games around that time were able to start.
Yeah.
That was around the time when that whole
Yeah.
idea of
It was
consequences
certainly
and different
possible.
endings.
They just
Yeah.
didn't do it.
Yeah.
And there are really good YouTube documentaries about Epic Mickey you go watch, and there are theories as to why they didn't.
Oh, okay.
All of those things. There's some. I don't remember who I watched it
I mean,
from, but
I think that's one of the biggest misses in their history.
Absolutely.
Because it had so
Yeah.
much hype. There was so much
But-
possibility.
it is without a doubt it is one of the most important things in their history because it's what began the conversation to bring Oswald home.
Right.
So that's the only reason they acquired Oswald was for that game. So
Yeah.
if it wasn't for this game, Oswald would not be part of Disney. And I think, people love that he is. And I think it's one of those things that undoubtedly Walt is smiling from somewhere, knowing like they got his character back from
Yeah.
Universal, right?
So that's one thing he's not rolling over in his grave for.
No, I think he rolls back.
He rolls back.
He
All
rolled
right.
back for a moment.
That's good.
He went, oh, and then Tron Legacy came out and he went, oh.
All right, Connect Disneyland Adventures.
Yeah.
So the 2011, and then it had like a kind of an update a few years later.
Yeah. Kinect being the device, because the Wii came out, Nintendo was kind of a laughing stock for a couple years.
Right.
The GameCube was a huge failure. And it sounded like Nintendo might go the way of Sega, where it's like, you're not even going to make
Yeah.
consoles anymore. You're just going to make software.
Yep.
And that came very close to happening. And then the Wii, they announced the Wii, and I remember people were laughing. People were like, this is a gimmick. It's stupid. No one's going to buy this. It's not going to be good for, like, hardcore gamers were like, you can't play like a Zelda. You can't play a Mario on this. Like, this is stupid. And then it came out and it blew up the industry, and Nintendo suddenly became number one in the industry again, which no one could imagine after the PlayStation 2 that Nintendo would ever reclaim that. But the Wii did it. Mostly for Wii Sports, but
mostly. It changed. It became a family gaming device.
Yeah,
I mean, it revolutionized everything. But
there's also great hardcore gaming things on it, like Zelda and Mario.
You said, like, you know, people were afraid of that, but I think Mario Galaxy is one of the best platformers of all time.
Undoubtedly.
And you could precisely do everything you need to do with a nunchuck and a Wii remote.
It ended up being really fun, not for Epic Mickey, because Epic Mickey was terrible, but those mechanics were really fun for everything else.
Oh, yeah.
There was something, like, it brought a lot of joy the way everything functioned in the good games. Not Epic Mickey. But all the other games, there was just something about it. Something felt good. That's always been Nintendo's. That's always been Nintendo's thing, is like the feel, and I feel like that's a very them thing. Is like, does this feel fun? Like the device, right?
Yeah.
That's I think their number one thing.
And Nintendo's always had the best controller. Say what you wrote about the console. The GameCube controller was fun. Like, I like that.
It's no N64 controller.
No, I think it's better.
You think it's better?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I like the N64.
I think it's better.
I like the weird protuberance.
Is N64 your favorite controller?
It's my favorite system of all time.
System.
Yeah, which didn't really have almost any Disney stuff on it.
Yeah. So Kinect was Xbox, and it was their version of motion control.
Yeah. So everyone started to copy them. The PlayStation thing was idiotic. The Kinect worked all right.
Yeah.
I like this game a lot.
So I never owned Kinect. I got to play it a few times over a friend's place. So did you own the Kinect?
Yes. Okay. We bought it for this.
Yeah. Okay.
It was purchased for this because I was like, Disneyland? Okay. The park is
cool.
painstakingly recreated.
It's perfect, right?
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
The sad thing was they had not bought Lucasfilm yet, so Star Tours and Indy are just blank. Like, they're there. The buildings are there, but they're not part of the game.
Yeah.
They didn't want to do the licensing, I suppose.
Probably not.
But it was so much like look, they're mini games, but the mini games had a ton of detail from the ride. Unlike that Magic Kingdom game, the games all had a lot to do with the attractions. Whether or not this was not an in-depth game. This was not Zelda. But it was fun, like the Jungle Cruise or Matterhorn. You have the snowball fight with Harold. I was like, this is ridiculous, but this is also kind of cool that I'm playing a game with Harold the Yeti from the Matterhorn.
Yeah. No, it's meant to be that kind of
it was. I loved it. Like, look, I'll be the first to admit it's not a great game, but for a Disney Parks fan, I think it was an ultimate realization of a game about the parks. The characters look real. You can actually go find them and meet them, and it was really, really cool.
Yeah, to be able to walk around the real, realistic recreation of the park, it was.
The music is right.
Job.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. The next thing that I want to talk about real quick is Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom.
Oh boy.
Gaming at the park. So this was, another iteration of Disney gaming. I know it's not, technically a video game, but kind of. I mean, you played games at the park. And I don't know, there was I enjoyed the idea of it. I did not enjoy the gameplay mechanics of the game. I think there were times when it felt like it was working, times when it felt like it really wasn't. Yeah. Like, there are times when I honestly felt like I was logically picking the right cards to advance the game. But, and you might know more about this, you will know more about this than I do. Well, no, I'm just like, so were there times when they shut off the upper levels of the game? Right. So you couldn't even progress if you wanted to on certain days, and you had no idea that was the case. So you're trying to
not only that,
level up, and you can't.
There was a couple times they erased everyone's progress.
Oh, right.
That's what. Yeah. So I spent weeks working my way up. I wanted to get to the hard level.
Right.
And we were almost there, and we show up at the park, And I'm like, oh, it didn't bring up my game. They're like, oh, yeah, everyone's got erased. This is very early on. And I was like, okay, well, I'm done. And I walked away. I was like, I'm not.
Yeah.
But then they also took away the levels for a while. Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, I'm good. I'm good, thanks.
Yeah.
It was such a cool idea. And there were cool follow-up ideas, and someday we'll talk about. I'll do a YouTube video about this
yeah?
someday.
So there's
I have-
unrealized potential of that
I
game.
have a giant document full of what was supposed to be phase 2, including the Tomorrowland windows. Yeah, and there was a whole nother set of cards. There was a second set of cards. There were a lot of other things that were supposed to happen that they gave up, which what they do with like Star Cruiser, same thing, where they had this really cool idea. They started it, they tried it out, and instead of someone in management being like, we've spent all this money, we've started this.
Yeah.
Why don't we see the thing through to its full potential? And instead what happens is the initial money is spent, and then at that point it's like, well, you got to cross the finish line now. And that's when people are like, yeah, we spent all that initial money, but now this smaller amount of money is the problem.
Yeah.
Putting more into it. And same thing happened with, it's like Star Cruiser. It's like, yeah, we put up the money to do something experimental and new and interesting, but we didn't want to see it through. Like, yeah, the gamble is it may not completely work. You're trying something that's never been done before. Disneyland on opening day didn't completely work. Walt didn't go, I don't know if I want to spend a couple $100,000 more dollars to finish this. Why don't we just back it up?
Yeah.
You
well,
know?
I mean, Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom touched all the buttons for me. I mean, collector, check. We're a reason to show up and keep going back. Yes.
For your
collect
free cards.
Free cards.
And then a reason to go to the parties.
Yeah.
For the party cards,
Get
which
the
were
party cards.
which were almost always attraction related.
Yeah. Yeah.
So cool.
Those were
Rover. There was a Rover card.
I mean, the artwork on the cards were phenomenal.
Yeah.
The collecting of the cards, the fact that they knew people would collect them, so they numbered them and everything. So like there
Yeah.
was a collectability to them. There were rare
home
cards
version.
to get. Yeah. There were, and then
Card book.
having an excuse to just walk around the park and enjoy the park leisurely.
Yeah.
Play this game. There's never really a line or anything. You know, it was just something you can
Yeah.
pick up and play. I think it played pretty well. It
Yeah.
just never realized its full potential, and that's a shame.
People brought up Lorcana, and they're like, Ashley, I thought Lorcana would be featured more in the park. Yeah, I don't count on it. I know they're doing the World Championship at Disney World. I think that's kind of the extent of it now.
Yeah.
Now you're seeing like, yeah, if you go into World of Disney, there's a shelf of cards, but I don't know. I'm done with Lorcana. They pushed me out pretty much. I'm done with
Kind
them.
of same.
I'm like, you made this hard. I
They
bought
did.
cases. There's no, it's impossible. Full cases. I don't have a enchanted card or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
I bought so many cards, and there's nowhere to play with people, and you made it so hard to get them, and I just it's like I'm good. I'm done.
So that did last for what, 10, 11 years. Don't think it was
Yeah.
closed till after COVID.
Yeah, they at least ran it. They kept, even though there weren't new cards other than the party cards, they kept running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next one. My favorite of all time, Disney
It's
Infinity.
yeah.
2013 was the launch. They had the second one, the third one.
I just threw in the storage unit
14 and 15.
down the row here. I just threw my giant bag of Disney Infinity figures in there. I didn't think about it. I should have brought them out and put them on the table.
I went all in on it. I love this. This was my Animal Crossing before Animal Crossing. This was my, I'm going in every day.
Yeah.
I made it a point to play with every character. I had every character. I bought everything that came out. Said I wasn't gonna, but eventually I did.
Yeah.
Once they introduced Marvel and Star Wars, forget it. I actually think that the pre-designed levels, I actually think were pretty fun. I think it was fun to play through the stories that they created. But the magic of this game was the user-created content. And the fact that they would keep putting out user-created levels from Disney, user-created levels from anybody that you could actually just go on and search and find.
Yeah.
And the fact that Disney was into it enough where they coordinated like filters for this stuff, so where you could like they recommended certain popular levels that were really good, and they promoted certain builds that were really good. They
Good
put
community aspect.
They put a lot of care into it, right? So you could easily find some of the best levels, and but you could just go on there and play random stuff and see what people do. I love the idea. Like the Toys to Life thing was obviously pretty darn huge around that time.
Skylanders, right?
Skylanders was right before this, and so you had to. You had to switch out your figures on the little dock. The technology worked super well.
Yeah.
I've never had a problem with the technology. In fact, you can put different skins and different weapons and different cars on there. Like everything worked so incredibly well. It was just such a fun game to play. This is the best game, I think, of bringing even Star Wars figures to life. Like in playing in the Star Wars universe with Star Wars figures. I've never played a better game where I felt like I was a real Jedi running around, swinging a lightsaber and stuff like that. Like, this was my favorite game of all time.
Even with the EA game.
Oh, Disney Infinity! Here it comes.
Thank you, Lucas.
The cars worked really well. I think the racing mechanic was actually even good. But I loved building out worlds. I loved changing the discs to change the background and the music. I just spent so much time in this game.
Do you want to play now?
I mean, yes. Okay, and look at these. These figures are awesome.
They're very cute.
They are well done.
I thought about selling them, and I'm like, I like the figures, though.
The art style is phenomenal on these.
I bent my cards, though, in here. Oh, they're not worth anything, so it's okay.
Aw.
At least I have my figures. It's fine. Including my Toys R Us exclusives.
Oh, yeah.
The clear ones? I'm trying to get Jack Sparrow out of here.
So my favorite one's my Disney D-Toy 3 exclusive. I have the Sorcerer Mickey.
Oh, the Mickey. I have that.
Yeah.
That's in the box. That one's in the box still. But yeah, there were clear ones.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is even showing up. Is it all right?
I
You don't have to get a new camera.
I don't have any of the clear ones.
Just put it next to my face. You don't have to zoom. It's all right. There you go.
So
all right. Well, I'm going to put these away immediately. So don't invest too much time.
I mean, but this really got my creativity going. I loved building levels. You know about the Epcot that I built with.
Yeah, you were featured.
Yeah, I was featured on the Disney Infinity YouTube show or whatever it was at the time, and where they featured so they put out challenges, and they were like, we're going to do a park challenge. So they picked top 5 best park submissions. I was one of them. So my Epcot game got a lot of play. So I had created Epcot Future World, and you could actually go ride Spaceship Earth. You could ride Living with the Land. You could do Soarin'. You could do Chess Track. You could do Universe of Energy. Some of them I did a little better than others. Spaceship Earth, you actually got in a little ship, and it took you on rails around all the show scenes, and it had the narration. Soarin', you actually got on a glider and you went through scenes as you went down. I don't know, it was pretty cool. I love the way you.
This is on YouTube, isn't it?
I probably can put it on YouTube.
I thought Disney put it on YouTube.
They might have it. I could look.
If you could send Billy the link so we could put it below for people, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's probably there.
I remember because I don't remember. I didn't go play it. I remember watching it somewhere. So I don't know if you had it somewhere or they
I thought we plugged it in here and I took you through it.
Post show.
Oh, see, we did it. We did
On
it
a
one day
post show we
here
did?
in the
Oh.
studio or in the other studio.
Post show on News Tonight.
Then we must have that stored somewhere.
It was 3 years ago.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't think they erase, but maybe they do. We'll look into it. We'll figure out a way.
So I love that you could build logic puzzles and different connect to if this then this and this triggers this, and so you can do all these cool things. I made a Reflections of Earth. You hit a button and it went through the show. It dimmed down the lights and changed the things, fireworks, lit torches. It was incredible what you could do with that thing.
Yeah.
I wish it was still supported. I mean, but obviously The Toys to Life thing kind of died.
Yeah.
Um,
They put in, I thought after the first, they didn't have the results they wanted with 1.
right.
And I was like, well, that's the end of that. They kept going, man. 2 and
did.
3. They just kept trying. So I would say at least the positive was that you liked it. And for some reason, it was one of those rare things with Disney where they kept throwing money at it. So at least you got to enjoy it for a while, which I think most of those things usually it's pull the plug immediately to stop the hemorrhaging.
Yeah. It had to be supported for a good 5-6 years, maybe longer.
I think they blamed some of the initial failure on Lone Ranger. There was because they were like, that's the thing that's going to sell this. Lone Ranger is going to be the next big Jerry Bruckheimer franchise for us.
Yeah.
And obviously it was not.
Well, I think knowing they had Marvel and Star Wars coming up, I think
once they bought those, they were like, you know what we could do?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it's Marvel. They knew they always knew Marvel was 2.
Yep.
Like, because that was the thing. I remember people saying like, well, no, I think they're going to do a second one because they have Marvel.
Yeah.
But then they bought Star Wars on the road to the game.
Right around that
and
same
then it
time,
was
yeah.
and then it was like, well, now they have another thing to do, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, that'll save it, and nothing saved it, and so it went away.
Yeah. I think it was just people didn't want to invest in all of that, right? To play a game.
The trend was dying, and if for some reason people didn't latch on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if that came out today, it would be a different world.
And by the way, I think it was the system I used it on. Like I played it on the Wii U. And I probably didn't play that much on the Wii U, except for Mario games, stuff like that. But although the Wii U was actually pretty good, there was a lot of good stuff for the Wii U. But that was cool because there was a touchscreen. It made it really easy to play this particular game because of the touchpad.
I had it on PlayStation. And I hated it.
I could look at this screen, look at my TV screen, and really
maybe that was the best
build
one
stuff
to have
really well.
On. Yeah.
I know we're getting towards the end. There's just a couple other random ones in the past few years. I don't know if you had anything. Lots of mobile games, obviously, but we're not a dime a dozen. Disney Magical World was one that came out in 2014 on the DS. That was interesting because you got to like it was almost, it tried to be kind of like an Animal Crossing Disney crossover.
Now they have like legit Disney Animal Crossing
Dreamlight Valley,
which I'm sure we'll get to.
Right. Well, so yeah,
Rosanna likes Dreamlight Valley. I still have not played.
I can't get into it. I think
maybe
I feel like the chores are a bit too tedious for me, and the rewards aren't coming quick enough.
Yeah.
But it was also I think it's not really a pay to play, but you can pay an upgrade, but you had to also buy the game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like it's a little more work. The atmosphere is cool. The fact that you can kind of go into these universes, interact with Disney characters is pretty cool. But I don't know. It's kind of cool to be a character, like to be a kind of like a park guest, and you could dress up like you have different kinds of Mickey ears. You
they have rides in there.
All the clothing.
Yeah. Some rides.
Yeah. And then the last one, I throw out Disney Illusion Island was like kind of the latest one that came out.
There was like a sequel to
Castle
of Illusion.
It's in the spirit of those games, but it's very different. So I think that was Switch only. 2023 is when it came out, and it's co-op, and it's all in the new Mickey Disney style. So the new Mickey cartoon style. So that one. Not too bad. It's pretty good. It's a fun co-op game to play with people. But I think it's just loosely ties in with the name to the original Illusion games. I kind of feel it's a kind of spiritual related game, but like not. It's very different. I think it has too many differences. I think they were just trying to maybe kind of capitalize on that name.
Cyber Joe said, the funny thing is you haven't mentioned the highest grossing Disney game ever.
Oh boy.
Star Wars Galaxy Heroes. Well, I don't think we're doing Marvel and Star Wars. That would be 17 podcasts.
I thought about that. I was like, there's
we're keeping
no way.
No Marvel
there's
and no Star Wars.
way.
Infinity crossed over. So
yeah,
we're not getting into Star Wars and Marvel. It's too much.
No, I'm sure there's mobile games that like are like very high grossing. I mean, I know people are really into the Marvel Snap game.
Yeah.
I think
Does Jason still play the Tsum Tsum game?
Oh, Tsum Tsum. Remember Tsum Tsum?
Jason
Oh my
played that
goodness.
religiously. I don't know if he still does.
I got into
I
that
don't
for
know if it's
about
still a thing.
6 months, probably.
I think it's still a thing in Asia because of the line.
I
the
think
line
it- I
app
think
is,
it's still a
you know,
thing.
it's the thing
Oh
everybody
my
uses.
goodness.
I'm trying to think of what the mobile game I just played from Disney that got discontinued was. I'm going to figure it out. Disney Parks Puzzle mobile game. I'm never going to find this.
So the last thing I wanted to bring up is Disney is now crossed over into Fortnite.
Yeah.
Literally just a week ago, the Incredible skins dropped. So they've had Marvel and Star Wars in there for a while, but now it's going to be a Disney crossover. So they have Mr. Incredible, Elastigirl, and Frozone with some emotes and
And there's more
weapons. There's more coming. Disney villains, so Maleficent, Cruella de Vil, and is it Captain Hook?
I think so.
I think it is.
Some other famous. I'm going to very quickly name some famous Disney mobile games. So I look for the one I'm looking for. Pirates was in.
Oh, that's
Fortnite,
right.
yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
And Sea of
Yep.
Thieves.
Yes, Pirates was.
You guys are going to do that on the marathon show in November, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna
Billy
play
and-
through it again and time ourselves to see-
Billy and Katie are going to play through the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff in Sea of Thieves on our
Oh.
November show. I'm not trying to talk over you. Just you're not mic'd, so I want to make sure people know what you're saying. I'm like translating from non-mic
That's
to
cool.
mic.
Yeah. No, I had just played the Pirates Fortnite event with the skeleton Jack Sparrow.
Oh, do you play Fortnite? Is that a thing?
Fortnite?
I do.
I do not. I've never touched it.
Why is that funny?
No, it's just surprising.
Okay.
I didn't think that would be a game you would play.
I really wanted to do a meme. I didn't do it, but because they did the thing where they streamed announcements in Fortnite at D23.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a thing where like we showed Josh tomorrow and the kid goes, "That's the guy from Fortnite." We never did it, but
That'd be great.
Emoji Blitz was a big thing.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big one. Disney Magic Kingdoms, I think, is still going. That's the one where it's one that you pay a lot.
Oh, I
basically, but
remember that
You
one.
build
Yep.
you build a park essentially. Now the one I played was a puzzle game where you did kind of the same thing, and I really liked that. And I completed it, and they're like, "More's coming." And then eventually I got Disney Wonderful World.
Oh yeah.
I played that hardcore for a while. It launched for the 50th of Disney World, and they were just match puzzle things. And then May 1st of 2022, they shut it down less than a year after it was released, and it deleted. It was available in an offline mode, but then I changed devices and it wouldn't go to it. So,
yeah,
but it was about like restoring the park.
Yeah.
There was Cars Land, Adventureland, Fantasyland, Toy Story Land, Frozen Land. Like it was, I thought it was cool. It's like, I like puzzle games like that. I pick up and play like when I have a few minutes. And then the fact that it had park tie-ins and you build the rides or clear the spell from the ride. It was really fun. I liked it a lot. I'm very sad.
That one I never played, but Disney Magic Kingdoms I did play for a couple of months and then just stopped. Like I don't know. I'd love to know what like triggers my brain to be like, keep playing this, or nah, you're not really interested in this.
know.
Like because a lot of these things feel like something I feel like I should be really interested in. Like I feel like as an Animal Crossing fan, I should really like Dreamlight Valley. There's
It's just
the
different. You
basic
don't like it.
mechanics are very the same. You're doing tedious jobs to earn stuff, to buy stuff that doesn't matter, that just so you can dress up your house and dress up your person. What?
Where's my water?
Oh yeah.
Which was supposed to have water park tie-ins, but did not. So, fun, quick story.
right.
My parents just bought a home in the Orlando area that used to be a vacation home. Because it was a vacation home, they decorated it with a lot of like if you're a Disney travel agent, you used to be able to order like stuff. But I think also there was stuff they gave out to like people that own vacation homes, like promotional stuff. So like the pool area has a thing it's Shamu telling you like the rules of the pool.
Right.
But on our sliding glass door to the pool, there are window cling ads for Where's My Water, and it's also an ad for Disney water parks.
Yeah.
And they're super cool, and I'm like, I love that. Like I'm gonna steal one, and then my parents won't even know it's
Are you
gone.
gonna cut out the glass?
No, you just peel it off. It's a window cling.
Oh, the window
It'll
cling,
come
okay.
off. Yeah. But that was a really fun game. Where's My Water? And it was such a hit that we were going to get a meet and greet, and there would be something at Typhoon Lagoon, and it was pretty exciting. And then it just vanished.
I
It
mean,
just
most of them
vanished.
do. I mean, they don't have that huge of a life cycle for
Yeah.
the most part.
For those that don't know, it was a way like the alligator, Swampy the alligator needed water to get to him.
Yeah.
And so you'd cut around pipes and through dirt and all sorts of things to send the water to him. It was really fun. It
That
a
was
good
just mobile,
game.
right? That wasn't, yeah.
Just mobile.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was, Disney had big plans for that never materialized, which is sort of
Yeah.
a lot of the things we've talked about today.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of
Yeah.
sad to go through that and like realize that.
But the big thing that's coming up is from the people that make Fortnite. They're working on that. What do they call it? It's kind of like the metaverse, but it's a video game Disney metaverse.
Right. The
thing.
the collab with Fortnite.
Yeah.
That's yeah. So that's like
But with the makers of Fortnite, it's not going
Its
to
own
be
thing.
in Fortnite.
Right.
It's going to be its own thing. Yeah.
yeah.
The boundless future that Josh Tomorrow promises us. And we'll see what that ends up being.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's taking you
Yeah.
through a lot of the history there. I
thank
think
you, Nick.
yeah. I think there was a lot like when you're really looking into this, you really realize like not only just the highs and the lows. There's always going to be the highs and the lows, but the fact that like sometimes they could be so revolutionary, and then sometimes they could just be in the background like everybody else. Like it's like a couple of the mobile games take off, but I mean, if you were to look at the list of mobile games, I mean, it's not like they put one out and it's a hit. They like it's like
Yeah.
1 out of 50 is a hit. There are so many things that they throw their license on, especially in the mobile gaming era. It is just like it's kind
There's
of
a lot of money
mind-blowing
to be
how,
made in mobile gaming.
how big.
So
that
probably
list
in that
is.
one that hits, you make enough money to pay off well beyond all the
Oh,
ones
I'm
that
sure.
flopped. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the story of like getting to Fortnite is the story of Disney Interactive and Disney's story in video games, which is when other companies did stuff for Disney, it generally worked out really well. And the Disney tried to do it themselves with Disney Interactive, and it didn't really work out.
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, now we're tired of trying, so someone else try. And it's like, well, who's the biggest in the space? It's like, well, Fortnite's the biggest in the space. They're like, let's just work with them.
Well, they did that a few times, right? Like,
Yeah.
so they definitely hopped on to that, tried to hop onto that bandwagon a few times. I forget.
But this is them jumping on with the well-established leader in the field, right? Fortnite is the most played video game in the world, I'm sure. Don't fact check me on that. I
probably.
believe it is.
Yeah.
Even still at this point. Or is one of those block things?
I mean,
don't
it
even
might
know.
still be Minecraft, but
I thought
it has to
Roblox
be.
passed Minecraft.
Oh, did they?
I thought so. And active players? Again, this is not my realm. I'm very uncertain of these things, but someone can fact check me if they'd like. I thought I had been told this. I could be.
Roblox now has more active players.
Roblox now has more active players than Minecraft.
Okay. Yeah, no, Disney went through this period like in the early to mid 2000s where they just kept buying up all the companies. They were like, okay, we can't do it as well as you can. We're just going to buy you
Yeah.
and acquire you. I mean, that's what Iger did, right? Acquired all
Yeah.
these different pieces. And
I'm
then
sure they'll just buy the Fortnite people at some point.
because eventually it just kind of closed like the
What's
Disney.
the name of them?
Epic Games.
Oh, they're Epic Games.
Epic
yeah.
Games, yeah. So the one last question I want to ask you though, like with Disney and Fortnite, do you feel it's weird to have like Disney characters, like real Disney characters, The Incredibles, Maleficent, run around with guns?
Well,
and like,
I've seen some TikToks pop up where Mrs. Incredible's dancing, and I'm like, that's unfortunate. But
right with these, like, how is Disney?
you have to
the
remain
point
relevant.
where they're allowing that. I mean, it just
you have to remain relevant, and to the next generation that doesn't. It's so important to be in those memories of those people, right? It's important to be present. From a business standpoint, I totally understand that, right? You want those kids to think they think of Fortnite thing. The Incredibles, and there's a new Incredibles movie coming out, and it's like, I like the Incredibles because I played with them in Fortnite.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds incredibly dumb and like I'm, insulting someone's intelligence, but it's how the brain works. I like those characters. I'm going to go see that movie. No, I mean, it's important to be culturally relevant. I'm sure they had the same conversations in 1981 when they talked about licensing Mickey Mouse for a video game. I'm sure they were like, is this the right thing? Isn't it weird we're letting people be Mickey Mouse? I don't know. I'm sure there were conversations. I'm sure with Epic Mickey there were those conversations about, can Mickey be bad? Can Mickey have a bad side? And so you have to remain relevant. And I totally understand. I get it. It's not one of those things that sets me off. It's a video game. It's not the actual character in my book, but I think it's important to make people care about these characters and keep them relevant. There's a reason Disney's greatest strength has been keeping franchises relevant for so long, right? There's no other company that manages to keep characters from the 1920s and 30s so relevant. It's like Woody Woodpecker is dead and buried.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he pops up at the entrance of like the Asian parks, but he's dead and buried, folks. Like, he is not relevant anymore. And he's not going to magically reemerge. But Disney, like, despite how many examples are out there of companies with legacy characters that they just let die, Disney is so good at it. The fact that Peter Pan came out in the 50s and Captain Hook's going to be in Fortnite,
right?
He's that meaningful. He's that relevant still. 70-something years later, he's going to pop up in a video game. That's insane. Other companies would kill to have IP that relevant.
Yeah.
It's a powerful brand. People love it for good reasons, there's good times and there's bad times, but through all of that, these characters have remained.
Yeah.
Real quick, I want to plug Gertie. We're running out of time here.
Let's go play video games, though.
No, we have work to do. We got to do an ECV rodeo. Gertie, this is not the one, but there is a Santa Gertie plush limited edition of 1,000 available now. Hopefully by the time this is released, they're still available, so you can grab one. They're available at WDWNT.shop. Please go to that URL. We're having problems with the other ones for some reason. But WDWNT.shop if you want to grab your pre-order of Santa Gertie. They will ship in time for Christmas. LE1000, we're about halfway gone as of recording on Thursday. This comes out on Tuesday. They're halfway gone. I do think they're going to hold out till then. So if you're watching this and are on the fence, decide if you need it for a gift for somebody or maybe you want it, and go please pick one up. It's a great way to support what we do and also get something cool. And also while you're there, you can pick up, I think we have limited sizes left of this shirt, which is the Tower Terror 30th anniversary inspired button-up shirt from Carousel of Products / Park Candy or Friends of Park Candy. So it's that breathable, wonderful, stretchy material. And very, very cool. And when these are gone, they're gone. We're not making these again. So whatever's left is left. They're still on sale for $60. We're going to leave them at that price. Be sure you grab one.
And Tom told me for WIGS members only, if you buy a Santa Gertie, he will personally dress as Santa. And on Christmas Eve, he'll come around to every WIGS member's house and personally deliver Santa Gertie under your Christmas tree.
I don't think that's going to happen.
All right.
It's not possible.
Sorry.
Unless you take us in the maxi van.
I thought the magical maxi
van flies through the air to deliver Gerties for Christmas.
Yep.
That would make an excellent claymation Christmas special.
Fly through the air, and there'll be 8 little Santa Gerties flying the maxi van.
I now feel like we need to have a claymation Christmas special.
We do.
Nick and Gertie Save Christmas.
We do.
Yeah.
I'll go get the clay.
Well, Nick, thank you as always.
Yeah, it was great.
It was fun. It was a fun episode. It was a good topic. We'll think of one for next week. Eric pitched one. I don't want to steal it till he's back, though.
All right.
So we may have to come up with something for next week. But thank you for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't. If you're listening as a podcast, thank you for listening. And we'll see you guys real soon.
Bye.